Laura, I am so excited about this conversation, and I just want to tell our listeners we have been chatting for about 5 minutes, and both of us started to tell a story that the other said, wait, let's let's do this live with listeners because we know it's going to be good. We know it's going to be juicy and inspiring and all just a love fest. So I'm so happy that you're here and that you're here for this kind of conversation.
So, Wendy, thank you so much. It's a pleasure for me to get to know you. And I think that I started to get to know you a little bit earlier, just listening to few of your podcasts. Um, I must say that I resonated with the podcast where you had invited Emmy, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
talking about, living with intent and with purpose. That hit home dearly. But I do have a curiosity because before we jump into our stories, is I see that you are really listening to amazing stories coming from like this kind of amazing women. And I wonder how do you manage the intake of so much inspiration and so many experiences? How do you do with that amount of wealth when it comes to stories? How you do it in your life?
Oh my
How you take
gosh.
it in?
This is such a beautiful question. And I love the opportunity to be present and think about what what the impact of spending my days in this beautiful way has on me. And I think that it's definitely positive. It definitely has me floating. So, my listeners know that I record on Thursdays, and sometimes I have up to six interviews. So, 6 hours of high vibe, fabulous
Wow.
conversations with high vibe, fabulous women. I am not the same woman on Thursday afternoons that I was on Thursday morning. And I am obsessed with this podcast. I love it so much. So, to answer your question, I think the thing that initially and immediately stood out to me, and interestingly enough, it's the same feeling that I have about the trips I lead. I lead culinary trips to France for solo female travelers. And what this podcast does and what those trips do for me is it reminds me that my dreams are not too big. So when I listen to a woman who has said yes to herself, it reminds me that I'm not crazy. I'm not a quote unquote dreamer. Like that's a bad thing in the sense that I can have it in my mind, but never have it in my hand. I don't believe that. And I believe that thoughts grow as they are shared. So as I am rising in my own vibration by hearing these beautiful stories, my response and encouragement is also um, a boost to the woman sharing it because sometimes it's our story, right? So we know about it. We also know about our resistance. We know about what we aren't totally slaying, or we know about all the things we're not doing rather than the one thing that we've done that might have, got us on a podcast. And so what this beautiful container does is it holds space for what is actually true, for what is actually our reality. We can be, do, and have anything that we desire. And when I am in the beautiful, inviting, loving vortex that this podcast is, I remember that that's true.
Wow. So first of all, I picked up on a couple of things from what you just said. And I picked up on the fact that I think that with every story we hear, we have an opportunity that we become a better version of ourselves at the end. We might resonate with many stories. Some stories, they will hit home and you might reflect and you take it very seriously. And you can even start thinking about some actions which you can do. And that is the impact, right?
Yes. Yes.
I think stories which people that are telling with intent, they shape the success of someone else.
Mm. Yes. Yes.
And this is a belief which, when I'm thinking stories, um, I think every individual story, and of course, we all have stories, but it's very important how we share those stories, because sharing it with, having a purpose behind, having intention, sharing in a vulnerable way. And there are so many fears which actually I can talk about myself that I encountered when I was thinking about writing a book, right?
Yes.
So, but when you realize that your story and anyone's story shared with intent, with purpose, vulnerable, can impact positive someone else's life, I'll tell you, it's like your own story comes with a meaning.
Yes. Yes. And I
And
believe
that's
it's,
beautiful and powerful.
yes, it is. Story is what connects us.
Exactly. And the emotions, and I have a little story,
Oh, please.
just talking about this. So um I shared the book Stories with Purpose, because we are going to talk finally about that some at
Yes,
one
yes,
moment.
yes.
I shared my book with friends, but what actually I realized that people with whom I connected, not randomly, but I connected, I think it was a purpose behind. And I give you the example, the the driver picking me up from the airport.
Sure.
So I do have someone picking me up from the airport all the time. And I knew that he's a reader. He got the book, and last time when he picked me up, he said like this: "I keep your book front of my car, and everyone who takes a ride for more than 20 minutes." Actually, I said, do you mind if just flipping through this book? This is a very cool book. There are so many stories. What what he did actually helped me anchor the fact that my initial customer segment, for whom I wrote this book, it was the right one, because an Australian mom, a German mom, and another, lady coming from a country from Africa, flipping through the book, they all three, they said, actually, I want my daughter and my son in their 20s to read this book, because it's so full of things and wisdom which they might consider going through life.
Oh, beautiful.
So to me, when it comes to people with whom you share your story, I think, as long as you believe that that person is up for growth,
Mhm.
because I believe that personal growth, it's an individual responsibility.
Agreed.
People will grow as long as they want to.
Yep.
And irrespective what you do in life, like you work for a corporation, you are an entrepreneur, you are an Uber driver, as long as personal growth is in your DNA and you drive towards that, a book, a story can impact everyone equally. And when I realized that, I said, oh my God, so I really need to talk to more people
Right? It's so
to,
good.
And I think that it boosts me the desire to share my stories with more people, because people, they can get inspired. They can say, oh my God, this is valuable not only to me, but is valuable to one of my friends, to my daughter, to my son. And that actually makes me think big.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I love that you answered the call inside of you to write a book. That's a huge yes and a huge undertaking on its own. And sometimes in the many conversations I have with the many women that I encounter, there's a hesitation to do the thing that's on our heart, the dream that we have, the next dream. There's always going to be one after that, by the way. But there's a hesitation because we're trying to project well, who's going to buy the book? Who's going to read the book? How am I going to sell the book? How am I going to, like, what am I going to do after that? We get far too many steps ahead. But what I love about your story is that it reminds us that we have a role in this, and it is to take the next logical step, and that the project itself, although it will be a part of us that moves from our heart outside of our bodies, in your case in the form of a book, but then as much as you planned, as much as you strategized, as many podcasts as you got on, as a book tour, as many book signings you went to, there's still an infinite amount of other ways that other people are spreading your message. I'm sure in your initial draft of the book launch, you didn't say, oh, make sure that I give it to my driver so that he can give it to everyone else that's in his car because that's such a good idea.
Exactly. So I'm gonna pick on what you said about uh, the number of women who dare to publish a book.
Yeah.
Actually, I was in a group coaching for writing my next book, and we were gonna talk about. But
Yes.
someone came with a statistic which made me a bit of like, you know. So the statistic is saying that out of the whole mature grown-up population globally, there is 1% of people who actually they publish a book in their lifetime.
Wow.
But within that 1%, there is a very low percentage of women publishing because of all the things you said.
Isn't that phenomenal?
Because we are always concerned about, oh my God, is my message good enough? Do I have something meaningful to say? Am I good enough? How people will think about me? So we go into that kind of fast forward thinking,
Mm-hmm.
not thinking about the present and saying that, you know what, the way how I see that my story, the message comes along right now is valuable for at least like, 10, 20 people around me. If it's valuable for them, multiply that with, I don't know, the global population. You can do some arithmetics. To me, I think that we concern ourselves too much
For
in
sure.
and I think the fact that you have a message, the most important is that message gets into value, and that value connects people. This is all what
Absolutely.
I'm gonna say to all women who dream to write a book. Just write it and get out there,
Yes, I
because
love this. Go ahead. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
because every story is valuable,
Mhm.
and every individual story is going to shape someone else next steps, is going to shorten the time to achieve a couple of
Exactly.
things,
Hmm.
and I think that's valuable.
Absolutely. And even the idea of, well, even if it helps one person, that first of all, please, you're going to help so much more than one person. So it's so, oh gosh, it's so amazing. I earlier this year, I finally opened a book that has been on my shelf for 2 years. It is called On Our Best Behavior: The Seven
Okay.
Deadly Sins and the Price Women Pay to Be Good. And
Mm-hmm.
I am telling you, that book cracked me wide open. And the reason that I didn't read it for 2 years is because I thought this book is probably going to make me mad. And I don't want to be mad, which is, oh my word, the whole point of the book is that, is how
To take you
this
out of the shell.
exactly, and how the conditioning and society, a patriarchal society built centuries ago, it just gets stronger and stronger, has been designed to keep women small and to make it seem like, well, if I write a book, if it's not a New York Times bestseller, then it's not worth anything. That's ridiculous. That if I don't already know everything there is to know and am an
Yeah,
absolute expert more than anybody else who's ever written a book, then I'm not eligible to tell my story. It's all nonsense.
exactly.
These narratives that are running inside of our own minds unchecked, because obviously when you say that out loud you realize how ridiculous that is, but on the inside it makes a lot of sense, and it keeps a lot of women small and in their place, quote unquote, in your place. I don't mean that's your place. And it just keeps us spinning instead
Yeah,
of being in service.
yeah. And that I cannot say it better than you, but uh, I'll just voice one of my realization um, when it comes to storytelling. You know that we tell stories over 70% of our time.
Mm,
We tell stories when we are doing conversations with the kids, with the husband, a presentation in a company environment. It's a storytelling. Feedback, it's storytelling. Um, and I can continue the list, but I think out of all the stories which we tell in our life, two stories are very important. One, it's our own story,
mm,
and second are the stories which we tell to ourselves,
for sure.
because those stories we tell to ourselves, in our head, that kind of internal talking, if it's not self-regulated, if you don't know how to turn a sort of like, downsizing narrative into a positive narrative, and really understanding in the moment, hold on a second, actually this is not what I really want to aim in life.
Right.
uh, you switch the narrative from being like, you know what, I am good enough to put myself out there. My I can turn, I like saying that, I can turn my mess into a message.
That's
you
right.
know
It's true. And nobody can
so
better than you because it's
exactly,
yours.
exactly. So to me, it's very important that we realize the importance of these two storytelling, which we have our own story, the stories we tell to ourselves. Because when you realize that, actually you just don't become self-aware. You have the ability to recognize
Mm,
negative thoughts, to
mhm.
regulate the negative talking, to translate that into something which is positive. And it's not just empowers you to take action, but also it gives you the, I would say, the runway to also aspire more.
Right. Aspire and inspire in the process.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. So
It's
so I
so
think
good.
storytelling, and it's another very cool fact. And I really want to say this because I think people, they don't realize that the first story known by humankind, it was a poem, in fact. So 5,000 years ago, on clay plates, the poem, the story of Gilgamesh, it was a king, but the poem turned to be actually a superhero story in verse. That's the first recorded story by humankind. And when I started to do the research about storytelling, this actually hit home because writing poetry, and most, they might believe that poetry might be dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you go to 100 people and you say, by the raise of hands, how many of you still read poetry, I doubt that is going to be an 80%.
Right.
So because I'm looking to my friends, but poetry, and by any means, any form of art,
Mm-hmm.
either it's poetry, either is music, dance, painting, any form of art, in fact, is storytelling.
I love
Because,
that. Yes.
because underneath all the encryption verses, underneath the steps, underneath the color of the painting, there are emotions and there is a story behind.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, I think when you are looking that some people, they encrypt their stories in art, art is a form of storytelling which we should embrace. And I'm gonna make I'm gonna say something very personal here, right?
Okay.
For me, poetry was the way to transform my introversion into introspection.
Oh, that's gorgeous. Say more.
So when I was young, 16 years old, um, I was a very introverted child, um, mathematician, a bit of a geek. I also, at that age, I went through some very painful moments. I lost my grandmother, my father left. And as an introverted child, I didn't know how to express what I was feeling. And therefore, I found this way of journaling. And believe me, that time ago, nobody was talking about journaling being a wealthy way of expressing yourself and go introspection and so on. But I think by intuition, I started to put my thoughts on paper. And because I was an introvert, and I thought that is too vulnerable at that age for someone to understand what I'm going through,
Sure.
I, I encrypted everything in metaphor.
Wow.
So
Brilliant.
so my mom, real story, my mom got hold of my journal and she started to read what I was writing. And one evening, actually, I surprised her tearing, like crying a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And and I asked, Mom, what's going on? And she said, she was like, I can't believe that in a very short encryption, actually, I can understand through that my child much better than having a 30 minutes conversation.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And to me, that was the milestone when my relationship with my mom started to consolidate and to grow on a foundation that we found a common language.
Mm.
And me, I was able, beyond the metaphor, to really start having like, meaningful conversations with her. And she was the first to encourage me to go and to have someone to look to my poems. And I published in my mother tongue when I was 17, which for me,
Amazing.
was like, I even couldn't believe that this is happening to me. And I think that was the moment when I realized that everyone has a superpower. And my superpower is creativity. And reading a lot about uh, people and skills, actually I realized that everyone is born with creativity.
Yes.
It's just a matter how you nurture that and how
Mm-hmm.
you put that at work, aligning that work with your purpose, with the value and the impact you want to bring into the world. Because problem solving is creativity, innovation is creativity. So creativity takes so many shapes and forms. So everyone who is interested to nurture that can do it.
I love this perspective because often people will say, "Oh, I'm not creative," because they're not a painter or a sculptor or a fashion designer or something. But we are all creative. And however, whatever our superpower is the story of our creativity in action.
Exactly. So I watched in my career, my corporate life, which is another story. So I watched during my corporate life amazing people, from analysts down to leaders. And I was always amazed the way how their creativity was kicking in under pressure,
Mm,
in problem solving, in really being able to convey a message. And I think that without even knowing, people, they don't realize that that is a skill
sure.
which, polished and nurtured, can really grow and can feed other streams in your life, can feed your hobbies, can feed whatever you like doing. So to me, I think that as long as people are aware about their creative muscle, you can use that creativity in anything you do. Think even about, the conversations which some parents they have with their kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is a lot of creativity there to
Yes.
really, to really bring a bit of spice into the conversation and to drive the discussion to an outcome which you want as a parent, right?
Yes, which is typically more information, please.
Exactly.
I have
So
a question about your mom, but do you want to finish your thought
no,
first?
you go ahead. Yes.
So before she read your poetry, um, and your conversations prior, is your mom introverted?
Yes.
She is. Okay.
Yes.
Because I am extroverted, and my beautiful unicorn 11-year-old daughter is introverted. And I love what you said, how your introversion was a key to your introspection. And I love just the shift in energy that I have about the way she processes information just by changing the word. Because as an extrovert, I mean, I have a grasp of the English language, so I understand that introversion is a thing, but I do not understand what it's like to be introverted. So it's very helpful for me to hear you use that other word, the introspection. That's beautiful. And then I just was wondering about your mom, just to see if that was a way that, because I can imagine I can learn so much more about Amelia when I see her she's a fashion designer. She's been sketching since she was 4. She's unbelievable. She would love your blouse.
Amazing.
She's phenomenal. And when I see the gorgeous creations that come out of her fingertips, sometimes she's just writing on a sticky note while she's waiting for me to finish making dinner. It's unbelievable. She makes clothes for her dolls out of paper towels. She's like unbelievable. So I love how when I hold space for her brand of creativity and her special storytelling, instead of trying to fit her story into my narrative of choice or my expression of choice, I do learn so much more about her.
Yes, yes, that's so true. So, so first of all, I think that Emily is telling
Amelia.
you, Emilia,
Yeah.
Emilia is telling you so many stories
Mm-hmm.
through fashion.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that you can come closer and to understand the story behind asking questions. So tell me about this outfit. Tell me about what you were thinking when you were creating that, because all these kind of things, whatever she thinks is going to come up and she's going to answer. And therefore, your communication is just going to become so rich and you're
Yes.
going to understand her from a very different perspective.
It's also fascinating with that book that I mentioned earlier about on our best behavior, because some of the outfits that she creates are not modest. And it's really fascinating when I hear myself saying something that does not sound like Wendy Harrop, but sounds like what little Wendy heard her whole life about modest is hottest and don't be showing other people your business and all of these things. And I love that in her young age, she's celebrating her body, celebrating the female body that she's drawing these clothes for and on. And I don't need to put some outdated, lame narrative that I don't even subscribe to anymore, but it's so practiced and habitual. I heard myself saying the words that, ooh, that slit's a little high, or why is her belly showing, or whatever. And I was able to, again, it makes a lot of sense on the inside, but when it comes out of your mouth, I
Yes.
was able to tell her, like, oh, actually, I would like to have another chance at this conversation because I was about to say something that I don't even believe anymore. And I think that's beautiful. And I think you should wear whatever you want, and everyone else can just manage their own stuff. You don't have to manage it for them.
So your daughter Emilia, I think she's fantastic, by the way.
Thank you.
So
She is. You're right.
she's amazing. She's amazing.
Yes.
At the 4 years old, you said, right? 4 years
Since
old.
yeah, that's when she started sketching.
So she started sketching 4 years old. Imagine the amount of creativity in her mind and the way how she expressed the beauty and
Yeah.
thoughts and even dreams, right? I think that the storytelling of her childhood was in the fashion
Mm-hmm.
which she created. So, and this is beautiful. So that's why I believe that fashion, art, music, poetry, every form of art is storytelling. And it's a way for people to release emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And through that, they can connect very easily or differently to other people.
Oh, I love this so much. I'm wondering, how are you finding, like, this is all the beauty and the joy and the inspiration of storytelling. How are you navigating when you're realizing that a narrative that you've been telling a long time is no longer in alignment? It's no longer serving you. How how are you shifting from an old story to a new story?
That's a very good question.
Thank you.
So I learned that each and every individual has a purpose and a set of values. And I also learned that we experience so much and we learn so much, but the lenses through which you are looking to past experiences or past learning might be different and might be impacted by the new learnings, new experiences. So therefore, stories can change.
Yeah.
And I can say, you know what? I had that narrative, and I give you a real example. I had a narrative when I was 20, I had the narrative that an introvert cannot become an extrovert.
Mm,
That was my narrative. But when I joined the corporate world, I educated myself to become an extrovert. And educating myself to become an extrovert, it means that speaking up in meetings, learning a language which was not my mother tongue and right now is like my mother tongue. Being able to inspire through presentations, standing in front of the board meetings and telling a story and doing all that. Actually, that is moving from being an introvert to an extrovert.
right.
And to me, I changed my narrative. And my narrative nowadays is like every introvert can become an extrovert as long as the environment, the stories, the way how they interact with their own experience and learnings, they become worth sharing.
Yes.
So to me, it's work, it's hard work. People, and maybe at one moment I should be thinking and drawing, like, from my own experience, a blueprint of how to move from introvert to extrovert. That
There's your
might be,
third book.
yeah. So how that will be, but so stories are changing because of the experience, because of the way how you change, and change is constant in life.
Yes.
So the other story which I'm hearing all the time, especially for people stepping into entrepreneurship, people are saying, oh, it's very hard for me to get along with technology, and technology is evolving so fast, and all this AI, and I don't know what to do with, right? I was somehow, if you're about to ask me, let's say 5 years ago, I was a bit of cautious and saying, well, AI might really change the game and might have an impact on the way how we interact with people. But nowadays, what I'm saying AI actually is a catalyst, because there is nothing changing the human interaction and the emotions brought by human interaction. So
Right.
this combination between keeping human, vulnerable, authentic, but getting AI or technology as a catalyst to spread your story in a much more like faster way,
Yes.
that's the beauty.
Yes.
So to me, definitely stories are changing based on experience and learning, but what is not changing. And here is what is not changing. What is not changing is the connection which you have with your purpose and your values. And I'm just gonna disclose here that, and I actually, I didn't talk more. I'm talking about this, but not enough, I think.
Okay,
So
good. I'm so happy to have space for you.
So recently, when I'm saying recently, I said, I think that in the last 10 years, I realized that you can like really have a better decision making and prioritization in life as long as you connect what you want to do with your purpose or with your values, asking the very simple question: if I'm gonna be doing this, how this is going to feed or is connected with my purpose in life and with my values. And I think asking yourself that question in the moment when you want to take a new job, you want to move to
Mm-hmm.
another country, you want, I don't know, to get married. I'm not sure. To get married, you make this kind of like, big decisions. And is this connected with my
Mm,
purpose? And I cannot stress enough the importance. And I think that right now there is so much material on social media, podcast, everything talking about purpose and values.
right.
And I encourage everyone listening to your podcast and everyone interested in like really having a very good decision making process and
Mm-hmm.
thinking things through, to make space to discover or to rediscover their purpose and their values.
Yeah.
And the other thing which I learned, and I love Brené Brown, by the way.
Oh,
So,
yes, she's amazing.
okay. Uh, I think we are all coming and saying, oh, my values are A, B, C, D, E, But the way how we should think about it, we should think about what is that one value which we are not going to compromise.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you are doing decisions, prioritizations, things which you don't want to do, the next question will be, if I'm deciding this, is this going to compromise the value which actually I'm not willing to compromise, right?
Right, right. When I'm faced with something, I have a mantra that I'm only available for what delights me. So that's easy for the day-to-day decisions. But for the bigger ones, then we're asking, is this a vote for the woman that I'm becoming? And if it, because sometimes we're faced with decisions that might solve a short-term problem,
Yeah,
but it's not a vote in the direction of the woman that I'm becoming.
in the long
So,
run.
right.
Yes.
So it's actually creating a bigger problem, not solving a problem.
Yeah.
And that can be scary because that's the thing that we think is going to solve it. But stepping back and trusting ourselves, trusting our values, trusting our purpose, and trusting infinite intelligence for me, trusting that God has a solution and I I will know it when it's here and this thing that has appeared is not it.
Yeah. So I hope that I answered your question about, are my stories changing?
Yes.
Yeah, the answer is yes, because change is constant.
Yes.
Every new experience, every new story might bring a different perspective. I think that we should be very open to intake new perspectives, because
Yes.
we all have blind spots,
And we're
and
evolving.
and we are evolving. And I'm not afraid to say, you know what, yes, I thought about this
Mhm,
like this, like, 2 decades ago, but
mhm.
hey, guess nowadays the story is shaping to this direction,
Yeah.
and always is connected with purpose and values.
Yes. Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay. I haven't even asked you the question. How are you saying yes to yourself in this season?
Well, I say yes to myself this season, being very determined to to bring value and impact
Mm,
to my readers and to my audience.
mission accomplished.
Um, I think, I was just having a chat with one of my friends these days, and we like labeling, like we like having a power word for the week.
Ooh, I love that.
So, and we are saying, oh, what's the power word for the week? And we come with this kind of like, determination, inspiration, being inspired, looking to, the word of the week is achievement, because we want to put some milestones, right? So,
Yes.
but overall, when we looked back to the first like months of the year, we realized that the word determination, is like coming up like quite every other week. I was like,
Mm.
I was like, okay, so what are we doing with this? So to me, if you ask me, uh, saying yes to myself is about being determined, indeed, to bring impact and value, but also being determined to work with myself.
Mm.
And that love is vulnerability.
Yeah,
And um, and I think you cannot love others without loving yourself first.
for
and
sure.
and I am very determined to bring value to others, but also to bring value to me.
Yes.
And bringing value to me, my source of inspirations are discussions like this. The source of inspiration is about, reading a book, but after that, reflecting on what I learned and commenting that with my friends, with my readers, with my followers, sharing that to the world. I think being determined to improve myself, I'm also determined through sharing what I'm learning to make others, improving. And this
Absolutely.
determination, I'll tell you something. I think that I had it before, also in the corporate life, but now as entrepreneur is having a different twist,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm gonna be making another confession here.
Bring it.
So in corporate world, my determination was very anchored in perfection. Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And perfect people are saying, oh, I'm a perfectionist. And my reply nowadays, there is another twist of a story. My reply nowadays is like, thanks God I'm not.
Right. Right. I wouldn't
So,
get anything done.
exactly. So in core and I think that corporate life made you, it's the environment where mistakes are allowed in a certain framework, while in
Mm.
entrepreneurship, being imperfect and moving from perfection to progress, that's a
Exactly.
switch in the mindset,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I'm determined to be imperfect, but and it doesn't mean that I'm just gonna allow myself to fail every other day. No, I'm determined to be imperfect, to really look at the failure like as a learning and not repeat it second time, because I think
Exactly.
that's the beauty.
It's
That's the beauty.
feedback.
It's feedback.
Right.
And yes, to saying yes to myself, it's about determination to be imperfect, to bring impact, and
Mm-hmm.
also to bring value to myself and to others through sharing stories.
Mm. It's so good. I have a question about perfectionism in a corporate environment. Do you think there's a correlation between the striving for perfectionism because because the actions and the job results are in support of somebody else's vision, and there can be a disconnect regardless of how well they communicate it? It is the CEO's vision, not necessarily yours as the employee, where in entrepreneurship, you are the visionary and often also the implementer and the janitor and all and the social
Yes,
media
yes, yes,
marketer
yes,
and all
yes.
those things. So the momentum and the practice of refining the message and getting it right and then that one didn't quite land, so course correcting and doing that. It is the momentum associated with a clear understanding of the vision because it is ours gives more leeway to not be perfect, where
Mm-hmm.
because we're trying to read somebody else's mail or someone else's mind, there's a striving for perfectionism because of that disconnect.
Well, I'll be answering like this. So I think that the vision of an organization and the way how they outline that to their customers, to their employees, if I was not about to be connected with that vision, I was about to resign. I'll be
Sure.
very honest, right?
Sure.
To me, I was always connected with the mission vision, but the perfectionism comes into play where actually you do not have sometimes enough space for failure.
Mm, that makes sense.
And I think that comes to another thing which I'm doing nowadays, and it's about leadership skills. And I think in leadership, when you are looking to leadership shaped by emotional intelligence and storytelling,
Yes.
and the leadership skills which they become very important nowadays, it's about your ability as a leader to not recognize outcome and results, but recognize the effort of going and the
Mm,
milestones, and even recognizing the fact that if it was a failure, people they realize what was the root cause of the failure, and that in itself is a success. Creating that space for failure and learning, it's extremely important. And to me, I think that there are corporations which are doing that very well. There are corporations which there is space for improvement. But ultimately, I'm going to be saying like this: irrespective of your CAO creates space for failure or not, or irrespective your boss creates that, you as a leader, you can do it.
mhm.
As long as you create that space for your team, you're gonna notice that their creativity, their engagement is going to go to grow up to the sky.
Yeah.
And if you as a leader, you also manage to the narrative upwards, that's another skill, that's storytelling.
Yes.
And you can very, very nicely tell the story of, let's say, a failure or an imperfection, which actually can translate long term into a much, much bigger benefit. So to me, it's all about leadership capability to create the space, to create the story, and to also engage with that, and to create for the employees the environment where they feel safe
Mhm.
to experience and to learn.
It's so beautiful. And everything that you said, although I am not in a corporate environment, I can implement all of that beautiful wisdom into parenting.
Exactly.
Holding space for failure. Yes, it's so
Yeah,
good.
exactly. And I think in my book I have a couple of stories about that. um, and it's beautiful how you make it's practice to make the shift
Yes.
because you can get mad so easily about a failure. Oh, you broke that glass, or you did that, or oh, you are late again 30 minutes, right? It's
Or
very
why are you
easily.
talking with your mouth full? This is not new
Exactly.
information. I say this every single time we have a meal.
Yeah, exactly. So, but saying that, how you can do this differently, you want to say something, how you can do it differently, right?
Right.
Is it something which makes you pleasure? Is
Yes.
you know that kids sometimes they just want to annoy you because they know that that bothers you, you know what I mean? and and sometimes things can get also into the fun side of things, right?
Exactly.
So you can make, you can create a fun moment out of all these imperfections, and
Absolutely.
that's going to be memorable, and they will gonna start laughing, and they're gonna think maybe differently about the moment. So yeah.
Exactly. I mean, of course, we're always in charge of how we respond to that.
Yeah.
And if that makes me angry, that has everything to do with me and nothing to do with her.
Yeah.
So it's so good. Oh my gosh. Okay. I could talk to you all day, but I want to have you mention. So this is a big year for you. You're releasing, you've released two books this year.
Yes.
Unbelievable. Tell us about them.
So the first book, Stories with Purpose, definitely there is a purpose behind, and it ties back to all our conversation about that there are two stories important in our life, our own story and the stories we tell to ourselves. And I think this book is an experience for readers. You don't just read it, you experience it, because through the book there are 28 personal stories, encrypted in poetry, but having also the story behind what inspired that piece of metaphor. And there are a couple of mind-bending questions which makes you think and reflect if there is any moment in your life similar, or how you resonate with the story and the writing.
Mm.
And that helps readers actually write their own story.
Oh,
and
I love that.
to me, this is the purpose which I really wanted to bring to life in my first book, to enable readers to connect with their experiences and translate their experiences and emotions into their own story, because each and every of us, I think we are the superhero of our own life, and
Yeah.
we all have a meaningful own story to share to inspire others.
Yes.
So Stories with Purpose has been released back in March. And the second thing, which actually ties back to all our conversation about the fact that is poetry dead, and um, the second book is called Love Is.
Hmm.
And it's a very different concept, versus the first one, which ties like introspection with emotions and with your own story. This is a very uh, plain description of what love could be for people. And for me, love is the C between B and D, where B is birth and D is death.
Oh, wow.
And love for me, if I'm gonna just translate LOVE, it's L comes from learning. O comes from open mind, which is creativity. Learning is curiosity. V comes from versatility, and this is the courage to embrace the unknown, to put
Mm.
yourself into new situations. And E comes from the empowerment. So for me, love is all these kind of four C's. So that's why I came with this concept that for me, love is the C between B and D.
Oh,
Some other people might say choice, you know,
right?
that because between birth and death, we all have choices. Some they might say change, but love is, it's a book where the reader is going to be faced with over 50 poems, encrypting some of the C's which they might discover, and they will have the chance to define what love is for them.
Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to read that second book as well. I love you said something earlier that I didn't comment on then, but you mentioned being a woman who dares to write a book. I applaud you. I
Thank you.
applaud that you did it twice in 1 year. I know this is not the end of your authorship. I'm so delighted to be in your world now. Thank you for being here. Please tell everyone where they can find and follow you, how they can get their copy of the book, and all the good things.
So people, they can follow me on LinkedIn. I do also have some podcasts and some content on YouTube. I'm planning to release more content in a form of like nanobites size growth. Um, but LinkedIn is my main communication channel, and I have a surprise for your audience and for the future readers knowing about my books through your podcast. Whomever is connecting with me through LinkedIn and hashtagging, say yes to yourself, which means that they are coming from your channel, they can DM me on LinkedIn, and they're gonna get a very nice framework which is going to help them to write their own story. And the framework is called the story framework because there is a methodology which can really anchor the way how you think and you tell your story in a sequence which becomes concise and impactful. And I'll be very happy to share with everyone. DM me, hashtag say yes to yourself podcast. I'm gonna be happy to share with them via email this framework for them to be inspired to write their own story.
Oh my goodness, that is so generous. Thank you very much. We will link all of that down in the show notes. I have loved this conversation, Laura. Thank you for being here.
I thank you. I love the conversation as well. I think that there is so much. You are a powerhouse.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you.
you come with you come with questions, and you just brought me a couple of things. I'm gonna reflect on that. So definitely there is a lot to intake from your questions, but I really want to thank you to create space for us women to come with stories which inspires and connect with others. And definitely I'm grateful to get to know you a bit through your
Oh,
stories.
thank you so much. This is my favorite thing of all the fun and fabulous things I do. So thank you for that.
Thank you.